what it is about that? I always just want to play the air drums. Hell, I want to play air drums. Found a video of me playing drums. My son has a little miniature drum set, and we were trying to jam with his mini drum set. So I did that bully thing that dad's just like, get out the way, boy. Let me show you how to do it. That's the kind of shitty dad I am. Welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Presents Beyond the Red Zone. Very excited about this show today because usually when I've been doing this, it's been me trying to figure out what to do, what to talk about. And finally, I said, fuck it. This is their show. This is Marcus and Mac's show. They know what they want to discuss. These are smart dudes. So I'm really fired up for this show today. They were telling me about what they wanted to talk about. I didn't even know about half the stuff they were saying. So I'm pretty excited just to sit back and listen, much like you guys. So please welcome the real host of today, Marcus of the Left Flank Vets.
What's up? What's up? You know, I like this beat, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Every time I'm doing the air drums as well. Like that beat, it does something in your spine that like you just gotta do something about it. And I will say this. Earlier today, I was, watching some news and talking some shit about it. One of the reporters in the White House press briefing is saying, "Oh, hey, IOC and FIFA. What is FIFA doing? How do you feel about FIFA?" And I'm like, "What the hell is this motherfucker talking about?" And it's like, FIFA? These fucking nerds, mother. They don't know what the hell is going on.
Say it right, man.
You gotta say the whole thing. But no, I mean that's why I was excited to be able to really go into the depths of some of that shit. So
look, what I tell you before we went on, I'm moving the fuck out of the way. That's why I'm gonna shut up. Let's bring in the co-host from You Don't Know History, Big Mac.
What's up, guys?
President's of temporary Wu-Tang is forever.
Forever. That's right.
I like that shit.
This leads me into a small little aside before we jump into it. Marcus knows well that when you're in the military, they give you an Outlook account when you become an NCO, and you have to do all your official correspondence on it. And at the bottom, you're supposed to set up a little block with your rank and your name, contact number, and like a little quote. Mm-hmm. Well, I put my rank, my name, my contact number, and all my quote was Wu-Tang. And I was the working jump master for my company. So like when we did jumps and I updated people's jump logs for pay, I did attach it to an email and send it to my sergeant major, who's like the highest ranking enlisted dude in my battalion. And I just sent it up to him. And then next thing you know, the following Monday morning, we all get an email saying that we have to have a military quote or like a kind of like a motivational thing because Wu-Tang is not appropriate. And the thing is, it's in this big group like email for all the NCOs. And like my boy in the other company was like, "I know the fuck it was Mac."
But I mean, this is the problem though. This is the censorship in the woke military that won't allow us to defend the nation against French fries and beef stroganoff.
That's right.
Is beef stroganoff communist?
It's like a Russian dish. So you know, that's if we don't change the name soon, we might lose everything.
Well, real quick before I get the fuck off the screen, horror movies we're talking about off air. Neither one of you guys are horror movie guys, right? Are you guys science fiction guys?
I am.
Yeah.
So I watch science fiction, but like, I'm not a real like. Someone says Star Trek or Star Wars, I call him a nerd. You know. So like,
did you kind of
fuck
dig
you?
some of the
Jedis could happen, and so can lightsabers. Eat my ass, Marcus.
Well, check this out. I'll be brief. We don't have a lot of time because I'm supposed to do Ben Burgess' show after this. So there's a horror documentary series that me and Teray Reed have watched probably 25 times, and it's 5 hours long. It's called In Search of Darkness, and it goes over every horror movie of the 80s.
Oh wow.
The actors, the directors, the special effects men, they have part 1 to 3. If you're a horror fan, it's catnip. You just sit there and nerd out. They've made one for science fiction. And I was thinking about it because I was cutting clips for the science fiction episode we just did, right, Marcus? With Dr. Harris and Dan Larson. So I tweeted out to Dan Larson and Harris. I was like, oh, hey, we should check this out. Because they had a clip from an interview they did with some of the people in RoboCop. Like they have Paul Verhoeven in here. And it's all science fiction movies, Mac, from the 80s.
Well, I mean, let's face it, RoboCop is just cop propaganda, so I choose not to.
I say RoboCop is a how-to guide to explain neoliberalism to people. Because Verhoeven, took that script and was like, I'm going to talk about neoliberalism. So he's talking about all this shit is going to be talked about in the series, right? So the dude had liked the tweet and responded. So I sent him the show and he liked that, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So hopefully we can
get some contact.
Get the guy that created that on our show, so we can have another deep dive, another sci-fi dive. That show did a lot better than I thought. And who doesn't like talking about the Biff Tannen timeline of Back to the Future too?
And I mean, like, I think it goes 100% into why like we want to do the show. It's not just like so we could just kind of like sports ball, like fucking bro out and shit. But like it's a way to connect with people. And I guess this is the take that I gotta just move on into the segment. But no, it's important. It's important just to literally just be able to have like conversations with people. And when it comes to I mean, like I've talked about on this show, I've been on Ben Dixon and stuff like that, and like when I trying to explain tenets of socialism, or I'm trying to correct all the fucking propaganda, like I just need not go further than, hey, if the NFL players had a vote on the coaches, would there be more black coaches? We can build out from there. But sports or movies and cinema, TV shows, all of that shit, it doesn't necessarily have to be, the documentary of the fucking October Revolution and shit. But you can fucking, bend shit and make sure you put a good message around it. But speaking of, we got a fucking straight up and down labor dispute going on with Major League Baseball. And now you're gonna have to carry this one. I mean, with as far as the details go, because I kind of fucking hate baseball. Never been a real fucking big fan. I played a few seasons when I was a kid, left it, never looked back. But what we got going on from space, basic labor disputes, in which case a formerly strong union got a lot of wins, rested on their heels for decades, looked around, surveyed the land, said we're getting fucked. And at this point, the owners seem to like be getting so much of what they want for so long that they don't even give a shit, that they think they're going to be able to wait it out. A, correct me if I'm wrong, but B, if you want to give some more insight as far as like some of the details that are going on here, please.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, but essentially the players took a step back because they didn't want to kind of upset the apple cart, right? The Major League Baseball had a series of like strikes and lockouts in the 70s going into the 80s, and then you had the big one in 94, remember, which knocked out a 3/4 of a season, and then I think a quarter of the following season, right? So after 95, the players were like, well, and the owners originally agreed that like we can't have labor disputes like this again. It really disrupted the game. I don't know if you remember, Marcus, but that strike year killed the viability of the Montreal Expos in Montreal. Like that's why they moved. But since then, let's fast forward, right? We've seen huge booms in stadium construction that are all publicly financed for the most part, right? You and I have talked about this, Marcus, about the Miami Marlins Stadium that is heavily financed by Miami-Dade County and the city of Miami, where they took out billions in loans and with upwards of like 35% interest rates on them.
Well,
So
I mean, Miami-Dade County, like most counties in America, are famously perfect across the board as far as housing, food, and healthcare. So why not spend lavishly on a sports stadium?
Yeah, but the kicker in all this is, it's like, by the time they finish paying this thing off, it's going to be time to build a new one.
Yeah.
The Braves kind of
if you can still build a new one in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's not underwater. But the Braves kind of set stadiums back by moving into SunTrust last year. They're built, their old stadium was built in 96. So they got 24 years out of it, and then we're like, we need a new stadium. Before you can get 50, 60, 70 years out of these venues, and now you can't, right? But with MLB.TV, with the internet blowing up, owners saw huge increases in their revenue, right? So they're getting a ton of money. Now, keep in mind, we are seeing 10-year contracts for over $300 million. Like, we are seeing that, but that's for like superstar, faces of the league players. What you're not seeing are, kind of, I would say, like mid-tier, like the guys that are going to get you play 150 games for you. They're going to have decent stats, but they're not the face of the franchise, right? I mean, those guys.
It's like no different than some of the just basic wage differences. If you take the average out of like the American citizen, if you're factoring in Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and some of the other fucking billionaires and shit like that, you are not getting an accurate result of most players, And I think even to, I'm doing a little read up on it, but like what is like, it's like a few $3 or $4 million is quote unquote the average. But like you said, there are guys who are making tens of $1 million a year, and then there's a bunch of people who are not even close to that.
Yeah, and what's adding to this kind of labor dissension here, right, was the fact that for years major leaguers ignored minor league baseball players. Minor league players do not have an association. They don't have a union, right? So last year, Major League Baseball strong-armed minor league baseball in their new deal, essentially eliminating rookie league ball, 40 minor league teams, which means fewer jobs for players, right? And then they're hamstringing a lot of these a lot of the players by keeping their pay continually below. And I don't know if you're familiar with how minor league baseball works. For like Fayetteville, where I live, there's a single A team called the Fayetteville Woodpeckers, and that's the single A affiliate for the Houston Astros, right? Yeah. The players are housed with people who volunteer to house them, right? And then they still, like, some of these guys barely make $1,000 a month. And they're playing professional ball. Well, now the MLBPA is kind of looking at what happened last year and saying, listen, you have You have eliminated jobs. You know, you've eliminated 40 minor league teams with 26 person rosters. So I'm not good at math. Somebody else can do it.
It's
You know,
more
so
than
they lost.
10.
Yeah, but and then you have, a lot of these teams are also still going into, like somebody pointed it out in chat, a lot of these teams have development camps in Latin America or in the Dominican Republic, where a lot of your professional baseball players are coming from, but they, at like 16 years old, they're signing these kids to like 10-year deals.
Yeah.
So they're keeping, their pay extremely low until, they get through the minor league system, and, hopefully they can strike it big when they, make a major league roster. But like you said, the players essentially have had enough. Walker Buehler is a pitcher for the Dodgers, which is the second most valuable franchise in Major League Baseball, behind the Yankees. He came out, like he put out on Twitter, and he eventually deleted it because he was afraid of blowback. But he said, this isn't billionaires versus millionaires. This is workers versus owners. The value is subjective. We are extremely lucky to do what we do, but the numbers don't line up. And he's absolutely right. Like, if owners are crying poor, like, I'm a Guardians fan, dude. Like, Cleveland has become essentially what it was in the 80s. It's the farm system for, like, the Yankees and the Red Sox, because Cleveland grows these players. They have them for 5 years, and then they're like, well, we're too poor. We're a small market team. We can't afford to pay these guys a superstar contract, and they move them out, right? But Dolan cries poor, but Dolan is the third richest owner in Major League Baseball. Like, and if the Dolan name isn't familiar, his cousin owns the Knicks, and they're both making Comcast money. Yeah,
and well, this like kind of gets into some of the rules with the MLB and teams, because they actually like incentivize like shortchanging across the board, and like, yeah, it's like basically is like, oh, like this is just a non-profit organization that just loves the game, but they like capitalism is like completely seeped into it to the point where they've incentivized the same things that capitalists do, and i.e., hey, lower as much profit, lower as much pay to the labor, cut costs and all the fucking ways you possibly fucking can. And and I mean, I think one could argue too is like, where, like I was mentioning before, it is the labor struggle that is protecting these things. It is not the moral obligation of these owners, to make sure that the players are taken care of. This has always been a labor issue. It's always been a labor fight to get these things, and yeah, and like, I mean, I guess that too is like, as far as the players' demands, and maybe we can get to that. Like, what are the players like asking for? And
well, the biggest issue with for players right now is raising the minimum. That average pay. Like what in the NBA they call the veterans minimum, right?
Yeah.
And the veterans minimum is just shy of, I think, $1.2 million this year in the NBA, right? But when you were talking about the team owners keeping salaries down, they have this thing called arbitration, right? So as a 17-year-old kid, you signed your first contract, right? And that's to get into the system. Well, when you get called up, and like, say you're really good, like this happened to Chris Bryant, who was one of the top third basemen in the league, but he came up with the Chicago Cubs. If you play 65 games in a season, okay, that technically counts towards your clock, right? Because in Major League Baseball, if you play 10 years, you are afforded certain essentially career controls about, like, you can't trade me, it's kind of like bird rights in the NBA, but what a lot of teams would do is they would get 64 games out of this guy, right? And keep him on that controllable contract, making sure that they wouldn't be eligible to go to arbitration to increase their pay, right?
Yeah.
And they famously, Major League Baseball is horrible for this. They like every team is guilty of it. You know, and this is something the players want to eliminate. They want to eliminate kind of that service time manipulation. They want to raise, like I said, that kind of veterans minimum. And on top of that, you know, they want protections for minor league players now. You know, which I think is great. I wish these guys would have kind of stood up and did this earlier, because they all played minor league ball at some point.
And I mean,
you know,
and
like,
word. And I mean, like, and this is something that, to, you know, workers on strike that I've spoken to personally, to something that's been said against multiple of these workers, is saying the same thing that these MLB players have had. We used to have it better. We used to have it pretty nice. We sat on our asses. We didn't do shit, right? We took the line, the corporate line. Hey, we need you to work harder. We need you to work longer. We need you to work cheaper, you know, to save the company. They go after it over and over and over again. And then it comes back and say, listen, we now know. We've got the internet. We see it. You're making a lot of money. You're making the most money you've ever had. Yet you're coming into the negotiating table and telling us that you're broke. This is fucked up. We should, and like all the time, over and over again, we should have done something earlier. We should have fought back earlier, which I think builds into the strength of the fight now, you know, is that it adds to how, you know, I guess strict and how stringent they're willing to be, is the fact that they're pissed off that they didn't do something earlier, and they're not going to want to make the same mistake, which obviously it sucks they didn't do anything earlier, but hopefully that they've actually learned that lesson, and in which case Kellogg strikers, you know, those are the ones that I talk, like, they got what they were going for. They didn't fucking waver, and who knows, but
I mean, but that's an interesting point though, Marcus. You already said that. Like, look at the kind of the labor peace post 94, 95, right? These are people who grew up with kind of like and developed as adults during that 80s period where, you know, it was horrible to be pro-union in the United States after what Reagan did, right? But now these players, and even like not all of these players, you know, every team has a player's rep. So there's 30 guys that get together with their general counsel, and that's the negotiators, right? But you have a lot of these younger players, like, in not just the 25th dude on the bench, right? Like Walker Buehler is a good pitcher who stood up and said, hey, we need to stop looking at it billionaires versus millionaires. Yes, these players make millions, but one, you know, and when I have this conversation with people that are like, you know, they're all overpaid and you know, they don't play for love of the game, right? Bullshit. The owners set the market for what they want to pay these guys. And you know what? Get that bag, dude. Make that money. Fuck these owners any way you can, man. Like, everybody was so pissed off about like Albert Pujols. Like, you give him a contract in his mid-30s, you know, when you start seeing a physical decline in your abilities, right?
Yeah.
He was still making $35 million a year. Dude, I'm happy for him. Fuck, you know, the owner who's, like you said, you know, Ari Moreno owes the Angels, the guy who gave him this contract. He's one of the richest people in the world. He's the richest man in Mexico. And he's going to cry poor because you made the decision to give Albert Pujols a 10-year, $260-something million contract. How's that my fault?
Yeah.
You know, how's that my fucking fault, dude?
And like, you can afford, like, it's like there's one of two people who can afford this shit, and there's one of two people who made this decision. Why are you fucking bitching about it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, but like, I saw
Charlie Murphy fucked up his own couch. Like, you could have still afforded another one.
That needs to be put on a t-shirt for Left Flank. Just Charlie Murphy fucked up his own couch and put the logo on there. But I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm sure you saw it a little bit, like, even if you're not like really into it, like, people that are like, well, they're pulling up to negotiations and Porsches, the players. Bro, I want all of you to have Porsches if you want a fucking Porsche. And that takes all of us collectively bargaining for higher wages to, it's okay to get a comfort item every so often. Like for me, it's like books and fucking, t-shirts with cool sayings on them, right? But like some people want a fucking Porsche. Get a Porsche, man, but like it takes that collective bargaining, that kind of all buy-in that these players have shown that they are now willing to do. And I think that does come from, these are younger guys that are seeing how collective bargaining is actually helping other workers in the country.
Yeah, and before we do move on to the next topic, where are we at now? I know that like what the owners pretty much are like, well, we don't give a shit.
Oh yeah, the owners today, this afternoon during negotiations, said that, you know what, if you guys aren't budging, we are willing to lose the first month of the season. So, I mean, they're already looking at, spring trainings are, we've already missed essentially the day to get pitchers and catchers in to start spring training. If they're willing to lose the first month of the regular season, like this is a game, and I'll keep this quick. This is a game that's in decline. Somebody already brought up the pace of play is super slow. These games are like 4.5 hours long. And Rob Manfred, who is the commissioner of the league, is a total fuckstick. So like, he's not really interested in speeding up play. He doesn't market superstars the way like the NBA does. Like, who the superstars in the NBA are. You don't know who they are in Major League Baseball. Even if you're not a sports fan, you know who the big names in the NBA are because the league markets them that way. Yeah. Manfred could be making a killing, for the league if he marketed like Tatis Jr. or Mike Trout, Ramirez in Cleveland. Like, there's so many big names that he could like put on shit. And he won't do it, because nothing's bigger than the league, which is, Yeah. But now, it's
at this point, what league?
Exactly. So yeah, that's where we're at. Like the owners are digging in. They're using the billions that they have to kind of like do like a PR blitz, trying to paint the players as these like greedy fucks. And it's like they're just. I'm with you and I probably are on this. We're on the same. Line of thought here is that they are just collectively bargaining to make up for what their peers years ago failed to do.
Yeah. Which, in some degree, that's going to be coming on all of us. But, speaking of peers, moving on to the NBA, there happens to be one player who's not really a peer with his teammates.
Yeah.
Mac, LeBron James. Is he going too far?
As the Cavs fan here, I am very grateful that he brought the city a championship. But LeBron, the GM, has fucked. He fucked. LeBron, the player, quite a bit. He's got the pull, you know what I mean? Like he's one of those transcendental guys that has the pull to like go up to his general manager and be like, yo, I want my boys, Mike Miller and Channing Frye. And, this other dude, like I want him on the team now. And, these teams will, spend, burn first round pick after first round pick after first round pick to like bring in his buddies. And like this season, I think he fucked up. Like he fucked around and he's finding out, like saying, you know what, let's go out and get Russell Westbrook. Like Russell Westbrook is a cat who was extremely talented. Now he's a player of diminishing, returns. Like he was never a good shot to begin with. And now that I don't even know if he remembers how, he's a defensive liability, and for LeBron, it was just, we have to have a big three, with Anthony Davis and him there. But like the Lakers just burned a bunch of first round capital. Like they have no room to maneuver, as far as like the salary cap. They have no way to kind of stock their cupboard with young players because they have no first round picks. And now like during All-Star weekend, like LeBron James is calculated in everything he does, is he not? Like he's not going to say something unless he knows exactly what the effect of his words are going to bring, right? So he's like sitting there talking about like, oh man, you know that general manager in Oklahoma City, Sam Presti, I would love if he was my general manager. Literally, that's him telling Djene Buss, who's the controlling governor of the Lakers, like, yo, fire Rob Pelinka and get Sam Presti up here, out here, right? And then he starts talking about, look at the Cavs, man. That's such a good young team. I would love to play on that team. And like, I really feel like he's angling to get Cleveland, to kind of force Cleveland to draft his son so he would come back and like play with this kid at home. That would like be the perfect send off for the end of his career.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't want him back. I don't want him back.
Oh,
I appreciate everything he's done, but like, stay gone, man. Stay gone.
Damn. You said you don't want him back?
Nope.
Keep buying schools, but don't come to the gym. Holy shit. Well, and this is the thing is that, so yeah, and I think it was the Sanchez mentioned, he got booed.
Oh yeah,
at a home game, which like when, how, I like, because has that ever happened before? Has LeBron ever been booed at a home game?
I will tell you, as a member of the Cavs, he was never booed. When he came to Cleveland, when he went to Miami, we booed the shit out of him.
Okay. So no, right?
Yeah.
so no. But here's the thing though, is that like when you go from player to, hey, I am now player / GM making decisions that's fucking up the team. I mean sometimes you're just never coming back from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, Anthony Davis is an amazing player. Like, he's easily top 5 in the NBA when he's healthy. And he is always like, every season there seems to be something with AD that happens, right? And it's usually a lower body injury. And you and I, as Ohio State fans, yes, we're getting it out there. Marcus and I, we're Buckeyes. Fuck all y'all that wants to hate. All right, IO. But like in 2005, we had an amazing.
You gotta watch that shit.
Hey, fuck back in the green room. No one asked you.
It's all right. Hey, yo, Marcus, I got something for him later towards the end.
Right,
Trust me, I got something for him.
That's what's up.
But like we had Greg Oden, remember? Like fucking phenomenal basketball player, gets drafted, and his knees are shot. Like, he had a knee injury, and he never recovered from it, right? Like, with these big men, like once those lower body injuries start to accumulate, they never really come back from it. And that's like my worry for a guy like AD. If he keeps having these knee injuries, these ankle injuries, these heel injuries, like, for real, like, eventually he's not going to be the same player, right? So you are saddled up with this guy who's constantly hurt. You're saddled up with a dude making $47 million this year, or $42 million in Westbrook, who outside of dribbling doesn't really do much on the court anymore. So it's just like, he backed the Lakers into this corner where they put a bad product on the floor, man. Like, I'll tell you right now, man, I appreciate Carmelo Anthony realizing what he is now, like where he is in the game. Like, he's going to get you some points. But like, you put him in the right spots to succeed. Right. Like, and I give Carmelo a lot of credit for realizing that, from being like the superstar guy to he's a bench player.
It is amazing. Yeah, it is amazing for a superstar to realize the cycle of a star. It's pretty amazing, because I mean, that's the thing. It's like, not that Carmelo was ever as big. I think like LeBron has got to be one of like the more, just when you talk about soaking up media attention.
Yeah,
Carmelo was never as big as LeBron. I think
it'd be hard pressed Yeah, even when he got to New York, I don't think
Yeah.
he grabbed the airwaves the way
Yeah.
LeBron does.
I mean,
in Akron.
huge though. I mean, like at least if he's not the star of the NBA, co-star at for 4 or 5 seasons at the very least, and that's like where it is just saying like actual maturity, right, in the game, actual maturity in life, because whether you are fucking playing basketball or you're a welder or you're fucking delivering packages, when you start in the game at 25, 30, it's not we're gonna be where you end up, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't run up those stairs with the package like you used to 20 years ago.
No, what you do is you just throw it up there. Fuck it. No.
you mark it undeliverable and instead keep fucking going. But no, and I think that's a great counterpoint to what LeBron is doing, because that's the thing too. It's like, LeBron is going to have to really internalize that sooner than later.
Yeah.
And looking at how he's acting now in LA, it's not going to go well. He's going to, I mean, at least I hope not, right? I hope not. There's always time. But it's seeming like it might be more remembered for his end of career antics. End of career, I need to be right and in control of things.
Yeah.
Then he will. I mean, like when Witness, right? When the fucking got the banner outside of the queue, like the things that, oh my God.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like he's, this is a man who like never wasn't injured for 10, 12 years, right? Like 14 years. And now he's dealing with those things. Like rolling his ankle 10 years ago wouldn't have fucked with him, right? Now, I mean, this season, he had an ankle injury where he was out, I think 15 games. Like things don't heal as quickly anymore. No, and the thing is like, I dig he wants to play with his kid. I think that's really cool. Like I really do. Like this is a dude who came into the league as an 18-year-old kid.
As a kid.
Right?
Yeah.
And now he's in the position and he's like, I mean, let's face it, he takes amazing care of himself. Like, I mean, I'm sure you saw the video at the I can't remember where it was. I think it might have been the All-Star game where he's like chilling out with a bunch of people and they're like, yo, we're going to the strip club. And he just dipped down the escalator, dude, just gone, just right. Like you don't see him like going out, like he's amazing. He's very, meticulous in how he approaches the game. But like, again, LeBron, the GM who forced Pelinka, who I don't know if anybody knows this, you know what Pelinka's job was before he was the general manager of the Lakers? He was Kobe Bryant's agent.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
That was his job before he became the GM, right? And like, so this dude doesn't have like the years of scouting most GMs have. He doesn't have like.
Well, you just trust LeBron. Just do what LeBron says.
Yeah. Right. And the kicker is
was Rob Lowe.
Sans Culottes is not kidding. He looks remarkably like Rob Lowe. Okay. But like the kicker to all this is like the Lakers have no draft capital. They have an old roster. And, I don't want to be the asshole here, but for you Lakers fans, like you were not really relevant in those later Kobe years because they were essentially, the Lakers were saying, thank you for putting in all these years and getting us all these titles when, Kobe was just a bulk shooter who didn't rebound or play defense anymore. Right.
Yep.
So like they didn't do anything. They get LeBron, they win that 2020 title in the bubble, in the shortened season. Right. But like this team, you're looking at a long rebuild.
Does that title deserve an asterisk in your opinion, guys?
Absolutely not. It's a title. Like everybody had to make do with COVID.
Yeah. And that's why. Yeah, like when same things apply to everyone. It is what it is. And this is where I think NBA, and actually, I'm assuming that the league and each conference did things the same. Do the bubble
Yeah.
games and all that type of shit. When it comes to things like the NCAA, where different conferences are doing different things, different schools are doing different things, I think that that comes into question. Like there is, I think, more possibility for asterisk. At least the discussion of. But when it comes to leagues that are completely contained as far as the rules being applicable to every team, I don't think asterisk
Yeah.
necessary. Other than hey, during these 2 seasons, 6 million people died of a preventable disease. Like I don't know, like that's just that happened, but didn't really it affected the teams equally as much as it could be, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it really goes down to what you said, Marcus. Like, the NCAA is led by a feckless, spineless, colossal piece of shit by the name of Mark Emmert, and the NBA, like you said, is self-contained, and it's run by Adam Silver, who is a piece of shit on a much lesser level. Like I'm never going to be in fate like this. He tries to put out this kind of vibe like, yo, like look at me, I'm with the players. No, you still work for the team governors, right? Like, you still work for the team governors. That's who you work for. And some of the things Silver's done have been good when it comes to like player relations, like allowing them to express especially when we're marching, and all the protests the last 2 summers, like they were allowed to wear like I Can't Breathe shirts. Silver was all on board with that shit, right?
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff, where he's gotten really nitpicky, like some players, like veterans players, we're talking about, the veteran minimum. It needs to be higher. I've spent 12 years in this league, and I know I'm not like the superstar, but I think the veterans minimum should be more than 1.2 million or what, it's like 1.2 or 1.3, something like that. Right. And Silver came down hard and was like, you cannot, like, send out a memo. You cannot discuss the veterans minimum if that's what you're making on social media. It makes us look bad, like he would full.
Would you guys agree though that the NBA, unlike the NFL, understands its market much better and has done an amazing job in marketing from 85 different jerseys for every team, like you said, being very, very friendly to Black Lives Matter and player protests, and it really has quelled a lot of the discussion around quote unquote racist ownership, because the language that you have in the NFL with there's no black owners and all these Negroes playing the game, you never hear that same discussion in the NBA. And a lot of it, I think, is just because they're so good at the way they market their racial grievance.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like 2-parter at least, because at one part the NBA just does a better job. It does better with treating the players materially. So there's that, and then plus, hey, you do get these concessions. Hey, Kaepernick got fucking fucked with for taking a knee. Y'all can do whatever they want, just as long as game time starts. You jump, you shoot, you dribble, right? And like, because at the end of the day, that's the smart fucking capitalist move, right? The things that are not actually directly threatening to us making money, i.e., between the clock starts and stops, do whatever the fuck you want. If it's damaging to the point that like, hey, people can't overlook it, then we can do something about it. But I think it's part because NBA players are just, they're taken care of a little bit better, or their position is a little bit better. I don't want to say taken care of, right? Nothing's given in this world. But then also too of like, yeah, those little ID poll fucking carrots that they'll throw out there is another way of where they say, oh, we've really got it good here, and this job lets me express myself, while nothing changes over the issues you're expressing yourself over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the players force the NBA to change, like what Jason said, the language, right? Like they're not team owners anymore; they're team governors, right? Because you had assholes like Donald Sterling who used to own the Clippers, that in addition to like sexually harassing every female that worked for the team, also like to do the Bob McNair and say things like the inmates are running the asylum and other colorful language that I'm not going to say because it was racist and disgusting, right? But I think with the NBA, with it being smaller, and the rosters are limited to 15 players, right? The players are more familiar with each other. Yeah, JB, they're officially called team governors now. They're not team owners anymore.
And even, I mean, like this, yeah. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but like I think when you're talking about even the different dynamics of the sport specifically might even lead into some of the beneficial, differences between NBA and other sports.
Yeah. I mean, I think the NBA is more forward leaning when it looks at partnership with players, and honestly, I really think it's because of roster size, because the players are more familiar with each other and they are going to work with each other better. I mean, then you have in Major League Baseball where you have 26 players, and then in the NFL where you have 56. So.
And when the thing is too is like, yeah, 56 players, but then you start getting into practice teams and all the coaching staff and all that stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I remember playing fucking football in high school, and if you barely know coaches that aren't on your specialty, like you got the head coach, the assistant coach, everyone knows, I was a lineman, wide receiver coach, like got my name wrong, right? Like all the time. For some reason, all the black kids seem to get called the same shit. Very strange. Very weird. but no, but like, I mean, that's literally the fucking nature of the game, where you've got, when you talk about practice squad, over 100 guys, and a shit ton of coaching staff, and it's very separated. You got special teams does this, offense, defense, basketball, you're all there, right? Like, so even if what coming down to the head coach, and I think like you see this in some of the head coaches in the NBA, was it Greg Popovich is one of them, where it's like they actually listen to their players talk about their experiences as black people in the United States, and maybe the sport and its short roster leads credence to that.
Yeah, I mean, and let's face it, I think Popovich typically wouldn't think an old white dude in his 70s would be kind of that kind of ally, but he has been almost his entire career, so I mean, I think that's really, and what I really like too is like, especially with NBA coaches, like they took the suits off, man. They're literally just like chilling out, like in like team apparel, like practice pants with like a pullover with the team logo on now. Like, I think it makes them more, like, people can identify with that a little better.
Yeah.
Than in a fucking, like, like Ty Lue was wearing 3-piece suits in fucking Cleveland. And I'm like, why, dude? Like, come on, man.
I feel like whatever is going to make a motherfucker feel the most fly, I'm down for it. I would completely completely be down for a coach wearing a 3-piece suit one day and the team gear on another day. Just all of like, this is how the fuck I felt when I woke up.
Oh yeah, like I want to see a dude like just roll up to the sideline in like some slides with no socks, with just like some gym shorts and a t-shirt, just like you said, this, I feel like shit right now, but we got a game tonight, so
it's literally like dog shit. My brother's wedding was last night. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, hella hungover. He's supposed to be a hungover ass coach. Just fucking sitting there with his head in his hand, just like, I don't care what you do, just throw it to the black guy. But they're all
Like-
black, sir.
Smoking cigarettes on the court.
Yeah, just
Right on the sideline.
he's trying to get like the concessionaire over. He's like, I need a beer. Just give me a beer right the fuck now. You know?
Hair the dog. Run hair the dog.
Like Nick Nolte as a fucking NBA coach.
Yeah. But so we're gonna go international now, right now.
Oh yeah.
Which and I guess I'll preface this. If you've had your head in the sand, you may not have noticed that Europe has gone to war.
Yeah.
In response, the sports world in response, the sports world has reacted and saying Russia bad and not allowing sports teams to compete, or Russian sports teams to compete in international games at all, or not under the Russian flag. Now, initially, I was like, this is just bullshit. Just spectacle. Hey, we're not going to do anything. Blah, 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 whatever, right? We stand with Ukraine. They're not allowed to play fucking curling in the international division coming up. It's all fucking horseshit, okay? But, Mac, you had made a point that I thought was very interesting, and that the sports might be hurting good old Putin a little bit more than most people would think.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has seen the shirtless pictures of Vladimir Putin riding a horse. You know, you will find video of him being allowed to score like 7 goals in a hockey game. While he plays on a team with like professional players in the KHL, which is Russia's highest.
He's that good. Do you think someone who could ride a bear wouldn't be also good at hockey?
Bro, Marcus, you want to know what I hope for? Like, is you know, on a lighter note, I know the war is not a joking matter, and that's a discussion for another stream. If you know, we could talk about, right? But like, I just want like the one Russian kid who just doesn't give a fuck. And like he's a big defenseman, and you know everybody's letting Putin like skate by him. He's got the puck, and this dude just drills him into the fucking boards. You know, just like blasts him.
Well, like so, like there's always gonna be that dude that's like, I'm gonna be famous for one thing in life, and that thing could be right now, checking the president into the boards. It's
Yes.
I think that person will get murdered.
Oh yeah, I think
that person will be remembered
forever.
No, they're gonna scrub his whole fucking existence off the
his
fucking internet.
family.
He's gonna get neuralized like Men in Black. Like, nah, like it's over for that. You don't remember seeing a dude hit Putin on the eye? No, I don't remember a dude in the black.
Never
suit.
happened. Never. Everybody that it's like what is that? The Ring. If you watch the tape of it, that fucking
you all die. Okay,
but yeah,
the point I made is like the International Ice Hockey Federation has completely ejected Russia, and that's like Russia's main sport, right? It's hockey, so he can't compete. You know, Russia can't compete on the world stage there. FIFA, after like 3 countries said, you know what, we're not playing Russian. We're not going to play the Russian team if they end up in our draw. You know, FIFA kind of backtracked into doing something right. I guess corruption recognizes corruption. But, you know, they said that they won't stage any matches and Russia will not be eligible to play, you know, World Cup qualifiers. You know, the IOC, for whatever fucking reason, decided to get in this, considering that, you know, Russian Olympic teams in both summer and winter sports, like we've already alluded to, go through a massive doping, you know, regimen. And they still allow the athletes to compete under the Russian Olympic Committee, you know, like,
yeah.
But the thing is with Putin, he loves sports. He's going to jam every fucking athlete he can with performance enhancers so they represent Russia and they win golds and championships and shit, right? Well, when you take that away, I guarantee you, baby Vlad right now is like throwing a fucking hissy fit, like a 4-year-old, just like knees and elbows on the ground, and he's screaming because his teams can't, essentially do PR for his regime,
My
and
question. Oh, go ahead.
no, and it's like, I think that is going to probably have more of an effect because he's shown, go ahead and do sanctions. It's been told, there's numbers out there, but they're saying he might be one of the richest people on the fucking planet. Like he and his cronies are going to eat. They're going to have money, right? They're going to be fine. Never mind the people in Russia that are suffering because of it. Like they had a huge bank run. ATM, like the ruble is almost worthless right now. Like he's going to be good. So who gives a fuck? He's shown he really doesn't give a shit about anybody in Russia except himself and the people that are, revolve around him in that orbit. So, but I really think that take the sports away from him, that might actually do something because he's that type of like, I don't know if narcissist is the right word, but like he pictures himself, like that way.
So, and this is where I wonder, and it may take some time, but I think like we are now living in like, a multipolar world, right? Like
Yeah.
we are now living in a world where US and NATO hegemony is no longer just the automatic accepted, like, hey, we got to go with them, right?
Yeah.
Not even enough time to explain the background on that.
Yeah, there's like that is something Marcus and I, if any of you are interested, we can set this up and we can lay it out for you. But this is not the time or the place.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too, is that is with that, is this something, right, that now maybe Putin is saying, like, now that since the international world is changing, and I think this is actually really more coming off of like things that have happening for decades that are now coming to realization. But if the actual economic international game is changing to the point where Russia says, I'm gonna invade, it doesn't fucking matter. The connections and roundabout of sanctions that they've built out means that they don't have to give a fuck. Does Putin have to give a fuck about this? And I mean, this may, and I don't know. It's like, is the relationships that they've built, with other countries that are allowing them to continue on, is that going to then say, hey, well, we're just going to start developing other fucking international sports bodies that, or, still having to be able to play some type of international games with, with other fucking nations on the world stage? Because really, at the end of the fucking day, if it's about filling a stadium full of people, it seems like they could maybe still probably go to China and do that. Will it be a sport in the competition that Putin actually fucking wants? Absolutely, absolutely not. But
Here's the thing with like we've already seen that the Soviet Union did it when the U.S. and a lot of Western nations boycotted the Moscow Olympics in the late 70s, right?
Yeah.
The Soviet Union kind of set up their own games, between the 16 constituent republics and some of the Warsaw Pact nations. But the thing is like, yeah, say he decides to do like a sports partnership with China. Do you know what China's not good at? Any of the sports that Russia is as a national team is typically good at.
Agreed.
Well,
I think where they overlap,
China national soccer is dog shit. And have you seen their hockey team? Oh my god!
The only place where they have some overlap is weightlifting, where I think China actually beats out a lot of the fucking competition. But when you talk about like, the clean and jerk and the snatch, most people think that we're fucking bringing in a bottle of KY jelly. But there's actually a weightlifting competition that involves that. But that's the thing though, is that like, this is where, I agree with that point 100%. But is at this point, there's a lot of things, and like just to say this invasion, fucking terrible. Innocent people are getting fucking killed. I think this would look like a whole lot differently if they just went to Donbass and stop there. But Putin was obviously seeing something that a lot of people didn't expect, and he's going for the whole fucking game. And yeah, damn Nord Stream 2, all of the fucking sanctions that are fucking coming on.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, is this something that, is really going to get even Putin to just get pissed off enough to not continue this on and not just say we're plowing forward, whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is just conjecture for me, but I don't know if you saw today, but like Vasily Lomachenko, who's a 3-division boxing champ, one of the top boxers on the planet. He's Ukrainian. He went and joined a territorial defense unit today. The Klitschko brothers, who were between the two of them, held all 4 heavyweight belts for like 15 years. And the older one, Vitaly, is the mayor of Kiev. They joined territorial units. And today, the unified champ, heavyweight champ, Alexander Usyk, just joined a territorial unit. And like literally Ukraine's like big name athletes are volunteering, right? And like I imagine that probably rankles Vlad a little bit as well, because you don't see a lot of Russian athletes running to recruiting stations in like Moscow and St. Petersburg right now.
And I'm kind of ashamed of myself because I can't think of the guy's name, the Arizona Cardinals player that
Pat Tillman,
quote unquote friendly, like, oh my God, don't. And yeah. But, and that, I mean, and this is where like, it's hard, right? It's hard to guess what's going to happen. No one can say what's going to fucking happen. I think a lot of the even like people who I consider the smartest people in the room,
well,
a lot of people were taking it back. And
the smartest people in the room swung and missed on this one, because what did we hear for the 10 days leading up to this? Yeah. Putin will never do it. Okay, bro. Like
which and that's where too is like, I think there was even the like the people in the Communist Party in Russia were saying like we agreed to Donbass. We just agreed, like kind of like opening up and saying like, when we talked about this before, we thought this was going to be a little Crimea thing. Now, but that's like, I'm down for whatever gets to peace faster. And this is Ukraine. This is Palestine. This is Yemen. I am for whatever gets to peace faster. And hopefully, hopefully some of these sports overtures have an effect, because Putin doesn't give a shit about people dying. We know that.
Yeah.
So maybe he gives a fuck about sports, and like, does that make sense? No. But does it make sense to just do what's happening right now?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I you know me well enough, Marcus. Like, I am never going to be in favor of a war where we are sending the workers of countries to go kill each other, while the people who declare war get to sit back and continue to maintain power, get to maintain wealth, and aren't involved in the actual dying. You and I have both seen war. There's nothing heroic about it. There's nothing pretty about it. There is nothing positive about war. So I will never be in favor, of conflicts where people are dying for a geopolitical dick measuring contest.
Yeah.
I want both Russian soldiers and Ukrainian, whether they're regulars or irregulars at this point, to go home and live their fucking life. That's what I want. So I'm with you. Whatever gets us to peace, quickly there, like you said, Yemen, like it's time for us to really start kind of banging the drum on that one, to make sure that, 12 million people don't starve to death. We, look at, Palestine has been carved up and blocked off, and they're sitting there and still dying in the dozens every month, so like, I'm with you, whatever gets us to peace quick enough so people can, one, rebuild their lives, and then two, start banding together to fight for what we want, which ultimately is that beautiful champagne socialism where we work for a couple hours a day and then we kick it all together. I mean, that's just me talking though. So,
I mean, and how much sports ball do we get to talk? You know what I'm saying?
oh my God.
When
If we
it's
had
just like-
champagne socialism, dude, we could talk sports ball all fucking day. All right.
and I think and there was a comment that what we do need, right, as we wrap it up, and I know that you'll agree with me because this is easily the smartest and easiest thing that anyone could do to save the world is we need to get Dennis Rodman involved. Okay?
Yeah.
We need to get we need to bring in the big man, go hard in the fucking paint, and really solve this fucking crisis.
That's right. Just throw some elbows, pull down that rebound in the form of world peace. I mean,
Well, thank you guys.
Hold on. Hold on, Jason.
I
I gotta give you the nugget. All right, I gotta give you the nugget. I told you I had one for you, man. Now, come on, bring your beautiful face.
I'm off air because my son is on the phone right now.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go.
Phoenix.
Hey, buddy.
Phoenix, can you say hello to everybody?
Hey, Phoenix.
Hi, Phoenix.
All right, Jason. What happened? Do you remember the 2016 NFL draft?
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, a person your favorite team drafted was drafted in the USFL this past week. I think he might be your favorite quarterback, old Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch, white Cam Newton.
Yeah. With 1/20th of the talent, was drafted by the Michigan Panthers, man.
Who's leaving? Hold on, Phoenix. Hold on. Give me 1 second, Phoenix. Hold on. Paxton Lynch was a bit of a stretch, in my opinion, as a draft pick. I think Elway's draft picks have all been stretches.
Oh yeah.
Quarterback wise. I mean, quarterback wise, right?
He tries to look for something to himself where it's like, this is going to come together in about 15 years.
The Paxton Lynch pick was one of those picks where you're like, well, if it works out, it'll be one of those like, oh, wow. But there's not too many of those getting back into the first round picks that really do hit. And, I don't know too many Memphis quarterbacks that have hit in the league in the last 30 years or so.
Oh, I think he was the only one, man.
there's rumor of an Aaron Rodgers deal, and I feel that's why they got Hackett.
Dude, I don't know. I have to look at the.
I heard a rumor about what's the black dude in Seattle? The Russell Wilson deal, which I'm not really feeling, to be honest with you. I think it was a great quarterback. I don't know if he's a great quarterback everywhere he goes, right?
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
You don't want Mr. Ciara on your team?
You guys are hella mean. I'd love to see what the coach can do with what we have. Jameis Winston, I saw some workout footage of him coming back, but I mean, he takes a lot of risks with the football.
Yeah, he does.
I've been very disappointed. I'm not real excited about this quarterback draft class. There's this kid out of, I think, Richmond University.
Richmond
or Liberty. I'm sorry, Liberty.
Yeah, Malik Willis. Malik Willis.
Yeah, I like that kid.
Yeah, he's ridiculously talented. I think he's going to need a lot of work on accuracy, though. Like, he's going to need a good quarterback coach. But I just wanted to put your mind at ease. Paxton Lynch is working again.
He found a place.
You know who Elway got that I actually wanted to see do good, but sadly he just didn't work out, was Chad Kelly.
Oh God, dude,
I was
Chad
really
Kelly,
hoping, I was
really?
really hoping Chad Kelly would work out, but it's like, damn, that dude can't get right.
No, I mean, dude. I mean, Marcus. Before we go, Marcus, you heard what happened to that dude, right? Like, he ended up like getting smashed and like breaking into someone's house, taking off all his clothes, and just sitting on their couch.
Yep.
Oh yes, yes. Which you know what that thing is like? If you Google Marine smashes into Okinawan house, you will not find only one article. So
He pulled
I
a
think
a
I think
Miyagi surprise.
Chad Kelly stayed with the troops in the U.S. Soft invasion of the Okinawan island. That's fine. That's fine.
I was
good.
hoping you weren't going to come with the Paxton Lynch. I did see that Paxton Lynch got drafted.
Dude, I had to, man. I had to.
I saw
had
that,
to.
and I just shook my head. You know, I was like, God, this guy just can't get right. But who knows? Maybe Paxton Lynch gets to have a Kurt Warner-esque end of his career where he can go from, you know, NFL nobody to NFL MVP, and
Well,
he's 6'100".
Yeah, he's playing behind Shea Patterson to start, though. Like, Patterson's going to be starting for that team.
Yes. Well, we'll see. Don't count out Paxton. Never count out a white guy with a name like Paxton.
Never count out the Pax. Yeah.
Never count out a white girl named Tanya. Never count out a white guy named Paxton.
If I hear a white dude named Paxton Lynch, I immediately am thinking he wears polos with a sweater draped around his shoulders,
He definitely
some boat
owns
shoes,
slaves.
and uses the N-word a lot
Oh yes.
in talking to
yeah.
his family.
Yeah. Big fan of American Eagle.
Yeah.
Big fan of American
Yeah.
Eagle.
It's like took Charlie
Abercrombie
Murphy's
guy. Big Abercrombie guy.
It took Charlie Murphy's character from the Boondocks way too seriously. I'm like, that's my hero.
He's got stock in Banana Republic, you know, like, yeah.
Well, I have to finish watching my son play with the new tow truck that his mom got him, and have him sing me songs that he's just made up, as you can hear in the background.
That's
I
dope.
appreciate a good
We're
musician.
gonna make up some songs together probably, and they're all gonna sound
like
silly. But thank you guys once again for taking the time to host this show and make it amazing. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoyed talking to people in the chat about baseball and my favorite baseball cards, the 1987 top set with the wood frame.
Oh, you gotta love the wood frame.
Yeah, wood grain gripping, of course. Cash money.
That's
dummy.
right, man.
It took me a while to find just the right collage of cards that made sense. It had to have Will Clark on there. So I love it. Thank you guys so much. Tomorrow, we will be talking to economist and Professor Rob Larson about the cruelty of the IMF. Pascal and I were on David Feldman's show early today, talking about all things IMF. Get Ricky Henderson on the show. Patrick Patterson Carroll. I would love to get Ricky Henderson on the show. He is an Oakland native. I don't know if he still lives there. I'd love to get Willie McGee on the show. My son played basketball with one of Willie McGee's kids, and
That's a really talented family too. Like, Willie McGee's got like, I think 3 or 4 kids that are currently like collegiate athletes or were collegiate athletes.
He's from the same area I'm from, in Richmond, California. So this is how we roll in Richmond. Ain't that right, Phoenix? You gonna play football? You said yeah.
Don't put words in that boy's mouth.
You're gonna go to Ohio State because you want to be somebody.
That's right. OH.
Phoenix, you gonna go to Stanford? Or you gonna go to USC like mommy?
Jason.
No, you don't. See, he says he's going to Stanford. He just said it.
No, it's Jason. It's not Phoenix's fault that you're his daddy and he's not getting into Stanford.
Wait, tell him, Phoenix. Tell him where you're gonna go to school.
I'm not gonna go to school. I gotta go somewhere.
What'd you say? You're going to see Slayer? Look,
That's a better school than Stanford.
Yeah, it's
Go
probably
see
more
some
fun than
Slayer.
Stanford. All right.
are you going to Stanford? Okay, say I'm going to Stanford. Say it. Tell him. And tell him you're going on scholarship because your parents ain't got that kind of money. Tell him.
The only thing I'll say this, okay? when people start talking shit about the Ohio State Buckeyes and how it's like, oh, it's just a fucking Buckeye knot, you know, and it's just me and the Stanford fan looking around like,
Okay, I'll get the shark for you. Hold on.
at least we're better than your team.
All
That's
right,
right.
He's requesting the shark now. There's a lot of stuff I gotta do. Voices, all kind of shit.
Oh shit. Okay, word.
I'm supposed to go see him this weekend for the first time in a month. So I'm very excited.
Good, man.
So thank you guys so much for paying attention and hanging out with us today. Again, Pascal and I will be back tomorrow night, and we are